Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chasing Narrative with AJ. And today I'm going to talk about divorce in the military. Now, doing my research, it seemed like in today's society, most people are concerned with the service members committing adultery while deployed compared to their spouses back at home committing adultery. So I'm going to go to my experience back in 2004. I wound up joining the Army 2005. I got married, deployed to Iraq. My ex-wife told me on Christmas Day that she was pregnant. I was like, no way, that's mine. And that's how I found out she was cheating on me. But we're going to go into different videos today. I'm going to give my point of view for each video. Let's get to it.
You know, when my ex-wife cheated on me, I said this before, it wasn't that the fact that she cheated that got on my nerves or that, really hurt me and broke me. Yeah, to a point, obviously, in our marriage relationship. But it was the fact that, she was a mother and stuff and she wasn't putting the kids first. And that kind of got me the most or whatever. But when she did cheat on me, it was like, I don't want to say worst case scenario. It's pretty much worst case scenario as far as a military member. Because, when you're active duty and you're on a military base, those dependents be doing some shady ass shit, man.
So what he means by that, more than likely, he was living on base. So I'm thinking that while he was at work, his wife would mess around with other service members. That's what I'm getting at. But that's why I never wanted to live on base.
Seen plenty of stories, and I even got warned about it before I joined the military by my cousin who was working at the VA at that time before I joined the military. So, and she told me, she was like, "You gotta be careful. You go deploy and stuff. These women, these spouses, stuff, they be cheating on their."
It's funny that he mentions that because I'm originally from Norfolk, Virginia. We have the biggest naval base in the world. I just see spouses cheat on their husbands all the time while the husband was deployed. And you talking about learning that from an early age, like when I was like 9 or 10. So I always told myself that it wouldn't happen to me, that I will always take my time when it comes to picking and choosing the right person to marry. But I also had in the back of my mind, like, hey, this could happen to me, so I'm going to take my time. Of course, I didn't listen to my own advice. And that's one of the reasons why it still burns me to this day, because I'm not saying that I look at it as a regret, because it's a learning lesson, but it's one of those things I should have known better.
Their spouses wear stuff like that while they're deployed and all those other things, and it happens so fucking often. It's actually, I'm gonna call it a mental health crisis. Selfish people, but it's really a.
It really is a mental health crisis, and I'm gonna tell you why. Back in 2005, when I deployed, that was my first time ever seeing a behavioral health specialist, and it was because my ex-wife cheated on me. At that time, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm like, this is my first deployment in Iraq. My ex-wife cheated. Not only did she cheat, she got pregnant at the same time. So I knew that whole situation was over with. And I really thought about taking my life. It wasn't until I started praying and having my faith in God that I became better and I was able to overcome that situation. But it stressed me out so much that when I deployed, I was 213. I dropped down to 160 because I didn't want to eat at all. I did not want to eat any food. One of my best friends, he actually would like bring food to my chew because he didn't know what was necessarily wrong, but he knew that I was going through it. And when people would ask me, I'm like, oh, me and my, wife, we just going through something. But not knowing that my wife had cheated on me. So it is a mental health thing. Like I said before, my parents, they were concerned about me to the point that they actually had to take my weapon away from me for like a week because I never told them that had thought about committing suicide. But my dad, he knows me. So he knew I wasn't in my right state of mind. And I remember like having to see a chaplain. I remember having to see Jag. There were a lot of things that transpired during that time that still stays with me. And like I said, I thought about taking my life because of the situation.
Mental health crisis. So when my ex-wife cheated on me, she cheated on me in the worst case scenario because it was random people in the city, random dudes in the city and whatnot. And it was in a small town in Montana, but it was also motherfuckers on base, brother. On base. On base in the dorms, and we live in base housing. Is that embarrassing? You goddamn right it's embarrassing, but I done got over embarrassment by dealing with shit like that. Fuck. And then you don't know them, but they know you. So when the motherfucker is looking at you weird in some type of way or staring at you, you're thinking, who the fuck is this person? Why they looking at me? It's because why? They done fucked your wife. Oh my God.
We're going to go to the next video. Like I said before, it's sad to see someone go through that, especially like a mother. The one fortunate thing that I had going for me is that my ex-wife and I, we didn't have any kids. So I was able to move on pretty quick. The divorce was easy.
One thing that I feel like is so overlooked and not discussed enough when it comes to serving in the military is divorce. Divorce is such a high percentage thing in the military, and people just don't talk about it enough. And I think, in my opinion, it's because people feel like it's just comes with the territory. It just is what it is, right? But divorce isn't a simple breakup. Divorce is a traumatic experience. Divorce is you plan your entire life around this person.
I agree with what he said. Divorce is a traumatic experience. So when I got my divorce in Norfolk, right, going to the courthouse, there were like a lot of people getting a divorce that day. And I remember just sitting there thinking like, damn, when I got married back in 2005, I didn't think I would be going through this situation. And then seeing like people talk to the judge, you know, they got kids, you know, money issues. And I'm like, damn, I don't ever want to have to go through this process again. And it changed me as a person. I was never the same after that. It took me a long time to get into a long-term committed relationship. Anytime I would meet somebody and I started liking that person, I would find ways to get out of the situation for the simple fact that I didn't want to be, I didn't want my heart broken again. It was very like, I'm not going to say depressing, but it was very stressful because that's something you don't let go. And even like with my current wife, this weekend we'll be married 10 years. We've been together for 14 years. And that's still like a part of me that have like a little wall up because of like what transpired over 20 years ago. So it is a traumatic experience going through a divorce. But the biggest thing is if you are going through a divorce or you went through a divorce is you got to move forward no matter what. You can't put that situation on the next person, and you can't let the person who caused you to get a divorce keep having control over your life. You got to be able to move forward.
And then to have to go through something where this person will no longer be in your life in the way that you want them to be in your life, that is traumatic. And when people can point the blame at the military and say that you're the reason that I'm divorced, that comes with bitterness, resentment, jealousy, hate, frustration.
He's right about that. Funny story. Last week I had to do a psychology assignment, right? And I chose to do an assignment on like deployments and kind of like adultery and what causes it. And what I learned reading that article is that most of the time when a spouse commits adultery, whether it's a service member overseas or the actual spouse here in the States, it's because they already had some type of underlying issue that they never fixed before the service member deployed. I thought about what that article said, and it's very true because before I deployed, my ex-wife and I, we already had underlying issues as far as like trust. And we were both young. Like she was 18, I was 21. I mean, we were so young back then. And it's one of those things that you do blame the military. You're like, man, if I never deployed, like my ex-wife and I would be together. But at the same time, it's not the Army, it's not the deployment, it's that you had an underlying issue that wasn't fixed. And that was the root cause of somebody committing adultery.
And all of that. And those people will push those feelings on everybody around them. This is why I say that it's so important to utilize the resources and tools that the military offers. The Strong Bonds program, the marriage counseling, all of these things, man. And it's so good for leaders to have the conversations with their soldiers about divorce and do things to try to steer them.
Cameron Talk is right with what he just said. They have Strong Bonds. I never gone to one, but I heard it helps. They have different type of resources in the military that'll help you like bring yourself closer to your spouse. And I also agree with him when he talked about nobody talks about divorce. Like I never had a class in the military, and mind you, I did 20 years, that was mainly about divorce and how to overcome divorce. So what I used to do is if I had people come up to me and they dealt with a situation where they're going through divorce, I would normally like go off of my experiences and tell them like, hey, yes, my situation was different from yours, but I was able to overcome it. I was able to move on with my life. I was able to get married. I was able to have kids. You can't let that situation like control your mind, control your love life, control your career, because once you start to do that, it's like a downward spiral, and it just keeps going until you decide to, okay, I need to play offense and start doing things that's going to be better for myself and start thinking about that individual. Because when you allow what happened in the divorce to overtake your life, you're still giving that person control.
In the opposite direction of that, sometimes, man, when you see your soldiers going through things, man, especially when they young and married and all of that type of stuff, man, have that hard conversation with them. And this isn't to say that they made a bad decision, because they didn't. Love is one of those things that when you feel it, right? But you have to live in reality, and you have to be able to see the signs in order to implement things that will not only maintain their marriage, but strengthen it as well. Because I'm telling y'all, man, a lot of people get divorced and don't come out on the other side the same way. So you have to be aware and observant of these type of situations, man, and just stop looking at divorce as this it is what it is type situation, because it's not. It is one of those things that can literally destroy a soldier's morale, destroy the morale of a unit, and just, man, it can take people to a dark place.
So I'm gonna leave off by saying this: Camel's Talks video, it hit home for me, because he's right. You'll never be the same. That's something that you will never forget. That experience of being betrayed by your spouse, that experience of having to go through the process of getting a divorce, that costs money, and it's embarrassing too, because you done brought that person along for the ride. Your family then met them, your friends then met them, and now you got to start from scratch. And starting from scratch is it's the scariest thing, because you don't know if you're gonna find love, because it's not because love isn't out there. It's because your mindset is effed up because of what you went through. And that's how it was for me. It wasn't until like I met someone else that I got over my ex-wife. So when I came home from my deployment, I met someone else. I got over her. And yes, that relationship didn't work, but I felt like that person was meant to be in my life to help me get over my ex-wife. So you got to like build yourself back up. What I had done too when I was going through my divorce is I really focused more on my career. I became a much better soldier. Not saying I was like this bad soldier, but I was kind of like one of those soldiers that would just do enough to get by. I started going to the promotion board. I started going, and try to be like the squad leader, take more leadership positions at that time. My supply sergeant had kind of went through the same thing as me. So she went home. I mean, she was gone for like a month or two, and I had to take over the supply room, so I learned my job more. There were a lot of things that I was able to do to combat whatever I was going through with my ex-wife. So I feel like every situation happens for a reason. It sucks, but I'm glad I went through that, especially at a young age. I was 21 when all that stuff happened. And it's something that I'm able to share my experiences. And that's why I decided to make this video today. So I appreciate you guys like always. If somebody is going through a divorce, or they going through something like this, please share this video with them. I love you guys. Salute. Peace.